Hello, and welcome to my Anthropology 220 final project. My name is Nora Hockian, and my project is on documentaries and our perception of them. The two most important documentaries today that really bring awareness to health issues are Food Inc. and Super Size Me. We talked about these earlier in the course, and I think a lot of us have actually watched them before. Documentaries are just really important because they can be shown on TV, they can be shown on streaming websites, which are actually a lot more popular these days, and a lot of the time they're actually shown in schools. I watched both of these films in high school, and I remember them very well. Documentaries are also important because people really take action after they watch them, because you watch these films and see the people in them and the events that happen in them, and they really make you want to make a change in your life. And they're short, informative, and they have a lot of important information in them that groups and organizations really want to put out there in the world, and documentaries do a really good job of doing that. From one article in the Hollywood Reporter, Simon Kilmurray, who is a journalist, discusses documentaries and says that they just really allow us to walk in another person's shoes, to build a sense of shared humanity that gives voice to a marginalized and the scorned, that strives to hold those in power to account. And I think that really beautifully describes the importance of documentaries and what they do. This next slide is a quote from one girl I interviewed for this project. Her name is Aisha Horley, and she's a 16-year-old student, and she actually has gone vegetarian because of the documentaries that she's watched growing up. And I will just read what she has to say because I think it's really important and shows how strong and powerful documentaries can be. She says, "I am a vegetarian, and I decided to be vegetarian after watching a documentary called Vegucated in 6th grade, so my decision was based heavily on media. Me and my friend decided to watch the documentary together, and it is about 3 people who attempt to go vegan for 6 weeks. And in the documentary, it showed the side of the meat industry I hadn't seen before, such as the way they treat and kill the animals. That same day, me and my friend decided to go vegetarian because the videos convey a lot of emotion in people, so it kind of spurs you into action and brings you a kind of immediate response where it can disgust you to think about eating meat, at least in my case." And I think this just shows how important documentaries can be, because immediately after watching this film, Aisha changed her life drastically. A really important way that people will actually watch documentaries these days is through Netflix. And according to a Forbes article, about 93 million people actually are paid subscribers to Netflix, and that was just in December of 2016. So while watching health documentaries on Netflix, they're actually characterized under the science and nature documentaries. And then more specifically, you can go into looking about documentaries about food, where there are about 42 films, and there are specifically about 16 films regarding health and nutrition, and the following bullet point is just a list of most of them. This slide is just a screenshot from Netflix. When you search for food documentaries, this is what comes up. One really important food documentary that we discussed in this course is Food Inc., and it was released in 2008, and it garnered a lot of attention for what it was discussing. It was also nominated for an Academy Award, which is really awesome, and it's shown in a lot of classrooms, and it's also available on Netflix. And I actually watched this film twice in high school in 2 different classes, one in my environmental science class, and then I think in one of my biology classes. And it's really important because it led a lot of viewers to learning about Monsanto, which is a really big company that is involved in farming, and it was actually so important that Monsanto responded to the film and attempted to redeem themselves. But the funny thing is they actually responded this year when the film was released in 2008. The film really questions like a lot of the things that Monsanto does when they sue farmers for using their seeds, or like the purchasing of seeds and the use of GMOs. And Aisha, who I interviewed and who we talked about earlier, she discusses Food Inc., and she says that they show the effects of the GMO seeds on small farmers and the way that these companies attack small farmers for accidentally using the GMO seeds. And that was a really important thing that she remembers when watching the film. This slide is a screenshot of Monsanto's website, where they respond to claims that Food Inc. makes about their company, and it's actually a really interesting read. They really just defending themselves and their practices. Again, like I said, this was released this year, which is kind of funny. The next really important documentary that we also discussed in this course is Super Size Me. And this film came out in 2004, and it's just about one man who eats McDonald's for 30 days and what happens to his body when he does it. This film was also nominated for an Academy Award, and I watched this film in my health class in high school. And the bottom photo, I think, is really cool and important because it shows the changes that happened to this man. His name is Morgan, from day 1 to day 30 from eating McDonald's. And it's just really interesting to see what happened to his body. This slide just shows the typical worksheet that was actually used in health classes for students while watching the movie. It just really got them to pay attention to the film and understand how important it was that fast food is not good to eat for 30 days consecutively. And it really created a great conversation regarding health for younger people, especially at this time in their lives when they are like growing and learning about the health world. This film was really important. Super Size Me was such an incredibly important documentary because it actually caused McDonald's to pull its supersize options from their menus after the film was released. Spokesperson Walt Riker for McDonald's actually said that the phasing out of the supersizing had nothing to do with the film whatsoever, and the company said that the documentary was like a supersized distortion of the quality, choice, and variety available at McDonald's. But it goes to say that McDonald's did pull all of their supersized options after the film was released because it garnered so much attention and was so powerful in really making a change. YouTube is another really powerful resource today, and it's kind of like showing small documentaries every single day. YouTube reaches about 30 million people with 5 billion videos watched daily on YouTube. And in this slide, I actually interviewed another person. His name's Elliot McGowan, and he actually is a student who goes to the University of Oregon. And he discusses how he actually became a vegan when watching YouTubers. He says that they mentioned many documentaries that he watched that really helped him change the way he ate and made him become a vegan because of what the YouTubers were discussing in their in their videos. And because they are really short and informative and introduce people to the world of health and nutrition, they have become an incredible resource in the health industry. This slide is a screenshot of a YouTube search for becoming vegan, and these top choices right here have almost 6 million views each, so it just really shows how powerful these videos can be for the health industry. Of course, there are some downsides to documentaries and what they are putting out there in the world. A lot of them can be biased and sometimes only show one side of a situation. Companies have to make statements after films are released defending their practices and discussing what the films did to their companies and said about them, because a lot of the times they can make false or incorrect statements just to get people talking and to get people to watch their films. And many people actually became upset with the film What the Health, which was released on Netflix, stating that it was full of lies and advising people to live unhealthy lifestyles. And it garnered a lot of attention for the false statements that it made. In this next part, I am interviewing a woman named Debbie Roberts who has kind of altered her lifestyle in a sense where she only purchases food that are all organic, and she kind of lives a lifestyle that's a lot healthier than some may live, and she only shops at stores that provide her with all organic foods. And these next two slides, I believe, are just little like snippets that I took out of the interview, and then the following slide is like one part of the interview that I thought was really beneficial.
Do you feel that like media and advertisements are only showing you one side of like the health world?
I think the advertisements in the past have really been more toward processed foods, fast foods, and that type of thing. And I think a majority of it is still that way. But I also feel like I see different advertisements. Maybe it's even more magazines or local literature and that kind of thing that more talks about foods that aren't processed and maybe not necessarily on TV, but maybe more magazines and publications and that kind of thing that talks more about organic foods, healthy eating, good diet, appropriate calories, that type of thing.
Why do you think that it's changed?
I think there's more of an overall awareness of eating healthier and taking better care of yourself, and promoting more health than it has in the past. Moving away from more processed foods and um, artificial foods, that type of thing.
This slide is just a reiteration of what Debbie was saying about how the overall awareness for eating healthier has really grown more popular today because of films and magazines and publications about the world of health and nutrition and how important it is for our bodies. And in the next slide, she kind of discusses some of the downsides of living such a healthy lifestyle and shopping at stores that say that all of their food is organic, because it is difficult to really trust what you're reading and to trust these companies. And she just gives her opinion on that.
So when you're shopping for groceries, do you ever feel that what you're reading on labels may be incorrect or may be falsely shown to you because companies want you to purchase their foods?
Yeah, I do have to. I do watch and try to be careful of that, because I know there's been some um, controversy over foods that are labeled organic and might not actually be organic. So you look for the actual symbol. I can't think of what it's called. That it's been tested, or part of the organization that's organic. I can't think of the name of it. So I do watch for that, um, and then as far as some of the products might say, if you're trying to get just natural, or even the products that aren't labeled organic but they're trying to promote themselves as being healthy, I'm really leery of those.
There are so many benefits and impacts, though, to documentaries and what they're doing. They just really get people involved. And Aisha Horley, who I interviewed, says that when you're presented with the images of the way people have suffered from the environment issues, it brings more emotion because it places a front for you when you're forced to choose if you want to take action or not. And so documentaries are just so important because people can personally make a change by signing petitions, changing the way that they eat and what they buy, and asking for new laws to be made because of what they're watching in documentaries. Documentaries start a conversation. Aisha also says that all of the initial information that she got about being a vegetarian and GMOs came from watching documentaries, and then spurred her into doing her own research online and buying books about it so that she could learn more information that she had gotten from the documentaries. Documentaries inform people about what is going on using vivid images and interviews with people who have personally been affected by what the documentary is trying to put out into the world. One conclusion that Elliot McGowan, who I interviewed, came to after watching documentaries about nutrition and health is that the real vote we have in this world is with our dollar, and by choosing to buy animal products, you're voting to keep those products around. He said that by creating a demand for these products, companies will continue to produce them. And for people to say that isn't true, he says to just go look in grocery stores and look at the tiny section of vegan products that was once only available at high-end grocery stores like Whole Foods, but is now in every major retailer, including Walmart. And that's because it has grown a lot more popular for people to choose a vegan lifestyle because of what they're watching in documentaries and on YouTube and in films that are showing all of the benefits of a healthier lifestyle because of all of the downsides that the documentaries show of these companies. This slide is just showing some examples of really what documentaries have led people to do. They go out and they protest for what they believe in and what they want to see changed in the world. Documentaries have led to a conversation being started about the way that products are able to identify themselves and what they should be placing on their labels and what they shouldn't be placing on their labels, as well as new laws being made because of the conversations that are being started within these documentaries and the way that people are reacting to them. It just really shows how much can come from seeing different things in film. And lastly, I just want to end my presentation with this really amazing quote by Simon Kilmurray, who I discussed earlier in the presentation. And he says, "If cinema is our most powerful art form, I would argue that documentary is both its beating heart and its conscience. It holds a mirror to our society, and it holds our conscience to account. It is more important than ever that we come together to speak up for and support those filmmakers, here and around the world, who bring us those essential stories." I think documentaries are an incredibly powerful art form in today's society. It starts conversations, it gets people active and out there and really going for what they want to see changed in the world. And it really does help people make a transition in their lifestyles because of what they're watching in films. Thank you so much for watching this presentation, and I hope that you have learned something and taken something away from it. I definitely know that after doing all of this research and interviewing people, I really learned to appreciate documentaries in the world today. Thank you again for watching.